Welcome to the deep dive. Are you tired of feeling like your team is just drowning in busy work?
Yeah.
Like you've got these really smart, capable people spending hours, maybe days every week on tasks that, well, frankly, a bot could probably handle.
It's such a common feeling, isn't it? We've been digging into a bunch of material this time, mostly centered around a UK company, Carbon and Code, and their perspective on exactly this, using AI automation to get out of that rut.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive is to sort of unpack their view, really understand the scale of this busy work issue they're highlighting, and see what insights we can pull out for anyone thinking about how to actually use AI to work smarter, not just add more tech headaches. We've got notes here on their services, their philosophy, some very specific examples too.
Yeah, the main thread seems to be about cutting through all the hype and complexity around AI, focusing very much on practical steps, and crucially, results you can actually measure.
Exactly. And honestly, looking at some of the stats they point to in these sources, it just hits you why this is so relevant right now. Like, did you see the one claiming teams are losing over 12 hours a week?
12.6 hours to be precise on tasks a bot should be doing.
12.6. That's like, what, a day and a half of skilled work just gone every single week.
Yeah, per team, or maybe even per person, depending how you interpret it. It adds up incredibly fast. It's
Yeah,
huge.
it absolutely is. And they put this almost unbelievable number on it for the UK economy overall, suggesting all this repetitive admin, this busy work. It could be costing UK businesses something like $271 billion a year.
Wow. Okay, that really reframes it, doesn't it? It's not just annoying, it's a massive economic drag. The sources suggest 30 to 50% of a team's whole week can just vanish into things like retyping data, copy pasting,
Copy pasting,
or redoing manual processes that went wrong. They actually call it doing business the hard way.
which is a very polite way of saying you're basically leaving serious time and serious money just lying on the table, unclaimed.
Right. And what's really interesting is the contrast they draw. You've got this massive problem, but according to one source, only something like 22% of businesses are actually using AI tools properly to fix it.
So there's this huge gap. Obvious pain point here, potential solution over there, but not much connection happening yet for most businesses.
And that's exactly where Carbon and Code seem to position themselves.
Okay.
Their materials talk about empowering organizations, particularly in the UK, to use AI automation not just to be a bit more efficient, but to actually scale things like content, really simplify operations, drive actual growth.
They talk a lot about combining strategy and smart tools with, what was the phrase? No-fluff execution.
Yeah.
That jumped out at me. What does that no-fluff bit seem to mean in practice based on what we've seen?
Well, it looks like a direct reaction against what they see as common failures. Those really long, expensive audits or those 6-month discovery projects that, well, they don't actually deliver anything tangible for ages.
Yeah, the analysis paralysis.
Exactly. Their approach sounds much more like short sprints, building real actionable workflows quickly, and focusing laser-like on the ROI. Not just ticking boxes on features, but delivering measurable value fast.
Getting the value fast. Okay, that sounds linked to their idea of ready-to-go AI packages. How do those fit into this no-fluff idea?
It seems like they've identified common high-impact automation needs and sort of productized the solutions. So instead of building everything from scratch every time, they might have these pre-built frameworks ready to go.
So they can skip a lot of the groundwork.
That seems to be the idea. Bypass lengthy custom builds and deploy something functional, something that starts saving time or making money much, much faster. It's about closing that gap between identifying the pain and actually seeing results.
Okay, so the problem is widespread busy work. You've got a company aiming to tackle it with this fast, practical approach. But for a business owner listening, where do you even start? The sources offer a surprisingly simple test.
Yeah, they call it the AI litmus test. And it's really basic, actually. Just ask, what tasks do we repeat every single day that don't require real thought or creativity?
That question really cuts through it, doesn't it? It immediately flags up those repetitive, almost mindless tasks, the things that don't need unique human skills.
Precisely. And framing it like that really reinforces their point that AI isn't about replacing people. It's about getting rid of the draining, soul-destroying parts of the job so humans can focus on the stuff that does need their judgment, their empathy, their creativity.
Which brings us back to that idea that smart automation is less about tools and more about what not to do manually again. It flips the whole conversation, really. It's not what shiny AI toy can we buy, but what repetitive pain can we just eliminate?
And they give a really solid example of this in action. They call it their most requested AI workflow. Any guesses?
Based on the pain points.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe somebody with email management or lead follow-up.
Bingo! Lead follow-up. Seems specific, right?
Yeah.
But when you hear why, it makes total sense.
Okay. Why is that the top request?
Well, according to the sources, it's kind of a perfect storm. Sales teams often drop the ball on follow-up simply because they're swamped. Admin staff waste hours manually chasing people. And crucially, warm leads go cold super fast if you don't nurture them quickly and consistently.
Right, so it's high volume, vital for revenue,
Mm-hmm.
often done manually and inconsistently, and maybe the fifth or sixth follow-up doesn't really need a human touch every single time.
Exactly. And the benefit they describe from automating this isn't small. They talk about installing a pretty simple AI-powered system, automated, but crucially, human-sounding and smart, that can apparently reclaim hours every week for sales teams and directly increase conversion rates.
So it's a classic fast win, something they can implement quickly to show real tangible value.
That seems to be the model. Demonstrate value quickly on a specific painful bottleneck. They do mention other areas too, of course, like automating other repetitive tasks, using AI for better customer engagement, streamlining back office stuff, basically anywhere that 30–50% busy work figure crops up.
Okay, but people hesitate, right? The sources get into that too. One big hurdle seems to be this idea that you need a massive internal tech team, like you need your own CTO, just to even think about AI.
Yeah, they tackled that head on. You don't need a CTO to start, is what they say.
That must be music to the ears of smaller businesses, right? Feeling like AI is only for the big guys with huge engineering teams.
Absolutely. Their argument is, look, you don't necessarily need to hire engineers straight off the bat. What you do need is a clear plan. What specifically do you want to automate and why? And then someone, maybe an external partner like them, to help you implement it properly, working with the systems you already have, training the team you already have.
So it makes AI feel more accessible, less like this huge, scary mountain to climb. It's for businesses ready to move, not just massive corporations.
Right. But on the other hand, just grabbing tools off the shelf isn't the answer either. They have a pretty blunt section on that. AI without strategy is noise.
Okay, noise. What do they mean by that?
Well, they point out that just having access to AI tools isn't the advantage anymore. Everyone can sign up for ChatGPT or whatever. The real difference, they argue, comes down to execution, how you actually use it.
And they list some common mistakes people make.
Oh, yeah. Things like adopting tools without any long-term plan for how they fit together, trying to train people after you've already rolled out some confusing new system, and a big one, measuring the wrong thing.
Measuring outputs instead of impact. Can you unpack that a bit? What's the difference there?
Sure. So based on their materials, an output might be, we sent 1,000 automated emails this week. Okay, great. But the impact is, we saved the sales team 15 hours this week because they didn't do that manually, and our response rate from those emails went up 5%. See the difference? One is just activity, the other is actual business value.
Got it. Activity versus value. Makes sense.
And to avoid that trap, they push this framework. Strategy first, what's the goal? Then workflow design, how will it actually work day to day? Then execution, implementing the tools within that defined process. That's how you apparently turn a bunch of separate tools into a joined-up system that actually saves time and helps you scale.
Which connects directly to another point they make about why most AI integrations fail. It's often not the tech itself that's the problem.
Right. It's more likely the lack of a clear roadmap or fuzzy goals, or the team just isn't ready or trained, or there's no real plan for how to actually use the tool in the daily workflow. AI is like a lever, they say, but you need a solid place to stand and a clear idea of what you're lifting to actually make it work.
Okay. And finally, they build this case around the cost of doing nothing, which sounds a bit ominous.
It is, kind of. Their argument is that this cost, the cost of not adopting AI and automation where it makes sense, is rising. Quietly, maybe, but definitely rising.
Because while you might be standing still, sticking with the same manual processes, the same team burnout issues, thinking, oh, we'll look at AI later.
Your competitors might not be waiting. They could be actively using AI to slash the hours wasted on admin, figuring out how to scale up customer service or sales without hiring loads more people, turning AI from just a buzzword into something that actually drives revenue.
So it's not just about missing out on potential gains. It's actually about potentially falling behind your competitors, a relative loss.
Exactly. And Carbon and Code naturally position themselves as the people who can help you avoid that, helping teams move, and I like this phrase they use, from curiosity to clarity, with no jargon, no chaos, and no wasted time.
And they leave you with a pretty sharp question at the end, don't they? It sort of sums everything up.
Yeah. What's the hidden cost to your business of doing nothing, of sticking with the status quo for just 6 more months?
Oof. That really forces you to try and put a number on the pain, doesn't it? Makes it very real.
It really does. Moves it from some abstract future thing to a tangible, ongoing expense right now.
So let's wrap up this deep dive. Looking at AI automation through this specific lens, through Carbon and Code's materials, it seems the clear message is find those repetitive, thoughtless tasks. That's the low-hanging fruit.
Absolutely. And realizing that success isn't just about buying tools, it's about having a clear strategy, focusing on those actionable workflows, and measuring the actual impact, especially freeing up valuable human time.
Yeah, it really underscores that practical steps, maybe starting small but smart, and tackling those common worries like needing a huge tech team. That's the key to actually making AI reduce the busy work and help you scale.
Exactly. What we've seen here suggests the real challenge now isn't if you can use AI, but how you implement it strategically to get real results, real efficiency, real growth.
Which brings us nicely to that final thought for you, the listener, to chew on based on everything we've discussed from these sources. If smart automation is all about figuring out what not to do manually again, what's one task, just one, that you find yourself doing repeatedly this week that honestly doesn't need your unique human brain power?